Hi friends, welcome back to Calm in the Chaos Homeschool. If you're new here, my name is Davine and I'm homeschooling 4 kids who are 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. Today I'm going to be continuing my series on living books for different regions of the world. So the last 2 years we have been working on Sunlight F, so that is geography and cultures of the Eastern Hemisphere. And so up until this point, I have been making videos about the additional resources that we are using as we're going through these different areas in the world. So today's video is the last of the Eastern Hemisphere. I may continue going around the world. So I may be adding some videos maybe next school year on some other areas that we are studying. I'm not sure on that yet, but if you are interested in that, definitely stick around. And if you like videos about homeschooling, curriculum, tips and tricks, how we homeschool, how we organize our homeschool, don't forget to subscribe because I have a lot of those sorts of videos coming up. So today I'm going to be sharing some additional resources that I'm using to supplement my children's learning of the Pacific Islands. So mostly Australia, New Zealand, but there are also some books about other islands like Hawaii and just some other islands, as you'll see as I go through this video. If you check the playlist below, you'll find my playlist that has all the videos of all the different areas that we have covered so far. I made a similar video for all of them. This is probably going to be the shorter one because this area or region was the hardest to find resources on. That being said, I'm still able to find some really great resources that I'm excited to share with you all today. So today's resources, I have some picture books, I have some informational books, and I have some chapters and novels. With the chapters and novels, I will be sharing the grade level and reading level of the books. So there's going to be a wide variety of ages that I'm covering here, but my focus was more on the 3rd through middle school level. So that's what you can expect from these books. Before I get too far into this, I will have timestamps below so you can jump around if you want to go to any particular part of this video. So just so you know, I got most of these from my library, and so you can check your library as well. So just as a reminder to check your library for resources, I have this Australia Land Beyond Time DVD that I plan on having my kids watch in our van as we are driving about. So I'm going to put that in my van so we can watch that as we are studying this area. After that, there's a variety of kid-focused informational books that I have found on this region. So I have the World Studies book, Oceania. I have Cultures of the World, New Zealand. It's a little more in this book here. I have this other New Zealand book here. So as you can see, I have a variety of different levels here. We have Travel to Australia. And so a lot of these books are a part of a series. So if you're studying different countries, you could probably look up the title part, Travel to, and then just add the country that you're looking for. I have Cultures of the World, Australia. This is more of a adult kind of book, just information book here. Cultures of the World, Tahiti. A pretty thick one here. And then I have this series. I got a bunch of these voices from around the world. So I have Samoa, I have Hawaii, and Tonga. Next, I have a few picture books that I found for this region. I have The Boy Who Tried to Shrink His Name by Sandhya Parapakaram. I have no idea if I said that at all right. It says, it's okay to take up space. When Zemala Mashkur Mishkada starts at a new school, he knows he's going to have to introduce himself to lots of new people. He trips over his long name and decides to shrink it down to the shorter, simpler Zim. The nickname works fine for introductions, but deep down, it doesn't feel right. It's not until a new friend sees him for who he truly is that Zimdala Marshkur Mishkada finds the confidence to step proudly into his long name. The Boy Who Tried to Shrink His Name is a warm and uplifting story that encourages young readers to celebrate their authentic selves and proclaims that no one should ever have to shrink themselves to fit in. I have Possum Magic. It says, Grandma Poss makes bush magic, and her best trick of all is making Hush invisible. Now Hush will truly be safe from snakes. But one day, Hush wants to become visible again. Grandma Poss looks and looks, but she can't find the right magic. Then she remembers. It's something to do with food, people food, not possum food. So the two set off on what becomes a fascinating culinary tour of the cities of Australia to find the magic that will make Hush visible again. I have Ohana means family. What makes the tradition of the Hawaiian luau unique? Golden light, homegrown food, an ancient land, a loving family, and so much more. Preparations for a luau unfold and elegantly grow in complexity in this distinctive picture book written in the cumulative style of the house that Jack built. I have Elizabeth, Queen of the Seals. It says, Elizabeth, an elephant seal, knows exactly where she belongs. Stretched out across the two-lane road in Christchurch, New Zealand, basking in the sun. But after a screeching car barely misses her back flippers, the townspeople start to worry. Maybe she'd be better off with other elephant seals in the wide open ocean far away from the city. The story of Elizabeth, an actual elephant seal who lived in Christchurch, and now she miraculously returns again and again to her chosen spot, was told to world-renowned swimmer Lynn Cox on a visit to New Zealand. Here is an awe-inspiring tale about one animal's fierce determination and love for a different kind of home. Next, I have two of a different sort of informational book. You'll see what I mean when I show them to you. I have the Kon-Tiki Expedition. This looks like an older book. It has a combination of drawings and real life pictures. So it looks really interesting. So those are the drawings, but there are some real life pictures in here. Let me see if I can find, there we go, some live pictures. I can see my youngest son picking this up. He loves informational books. So it says, the Kon-Tiki Expedition. On the 28th of April, 1947, the ballista raft Kon-Tiki set out from Peru. 6 men were on board, and the scientific background to the astonishing voyage was to try to prove that it was possible, by means of a primitive craft, to cross the seas from South America to the world of islands in the South Pacific, a distance of about 5,000 miles. The expedition was most thoroughly planned and prepared, but all the experts doubted whether the raft could possibly survive. And yet they were shown to be quite wrong in their fears. After 101 thrilling days at sea, the Kon-Tiki grounded on the 7th of August on the reef of the little coral island of Rarotia, its entire crew in good health. The goal, Polynesia, had at last been reached. So that one looks interesting to me. And then I have the Octopus Scientists, exploring the mind of a mollusk. Says, with 3 hearts that pump blue blood through a baggy, boneless body, it looks like a character from a science fiction movie. 8 serpentine arms are covered with hundreds of suckers that touch and taste the ocean environment. It has a beak like a bird and a venomous bite for paralyzing prey, and can squirt ink to distract a predator, but that's not all. This cunning hunter is the Houdini of the underwater world, a shapeshifter that can pour itself into impossibly small spaces, as well as change color and texture to match the diverse underwater landscape. This remarkably intuitive animal is an octopus, and new research suggests that it thinks and feels in ways we never knew possible. Like the vast unknown ocean it inhabits, the octopus is a secret keeper. So just a different kind of information book that I felt would go well with the study of the Pacific Islands. Okay, so let's move in to my pile of readers and read-alouds that my kids will get to pick from, and I will be reading a few to my kids, and I'll let you know which ones I plan on doing as read-alouds. So the first one I was excited to find, it was at the library, and it is John Williams' Messenger of Peace. This is a Christian Heroes Then and Now book. We have really enjoyed these, so I'm thinking I will probably be reading this one to my kids. So according to my research, this is intended for 10 to 13-year-olds at a grade level of 5 to 6 for reading level. So it says here, John Williams, 1796 to 1839. Hold on, the Polynesian rower yelled, but the giant wave crashed over the rowboat, flinging John into the surging water. John gasped for air as the undercurrent pulled him down. Frantically, he thrashed his arms and kicked his legs, but it was of no use. I can't drown. There are too many islands to go. I have to reach them all. The thousands of islands scattered across the Pacific Ocean were home to fierce warriors and cannibals who sacrificed their children to many gods they worshipped. A few islands had been dramatically transformed by the gospel, but thousands more were waiting for someone to come and teach them about the one true God. John Williams dedicated his life to bringing the message of Christ's love and peace to those brutal islands. In the face of constant danger, he discipled and inspired Polynesians to go as missionaries to their neighbors, ultimately giving his life to see the gospel spread across the vast Pacific. All right, next I have the shark caller. It says, I want to be able to call the sharks. Teach me the magic and show me the ways. Blue Wing is desperate to become a shark caller, but instead she must befriend infuriating newcomer Maple, who arrives unexpectedly on Blue Wing's island. At first, the girls are too angry to share their secrets and become friends. But the tide breathes the promise of treasure. They must journey together to the bottom of the ocean to braid the deadliest shark of them all. A spellbound adventure of friendship, forgiveness, and bravery set on the shores of Papua New Guinea. Okay, so this says it is ages 9 and up, grade levels 5 through 7, and it has a Lexile reading level of 580. You don't know how to interpret the Lexile numbers, I will put a link in the description box below that will let you know sort of what level that means for the Lexile reading. All right, next I have Shinji Takahashi, Into the Heart of the Storm. It says, Shinji Takahashi has learned a lot as a member of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, like how to scale a cliff with nothing but some rope and good luck, or how to outsmart a serpent warrior in the middle of the jungle. One thing he hasn't learned, however, is how to control his newfound guardian magic, or what this magic means for him. After members of SEA learn a sunken ship belongs to the long-extinct Nata people has been found on the floor of the Pacific Ocean, Shinji and his friends head off to check out the wreckage, hoping to get there before the High Tower Corporation can plunder the site. But when Shinji accidentally awakens a guardian who's been trapped inside a volcano for a century, it causes a volcanic eruption and releases a massive hurricane that threatens the entire coast of California. Now Shinji must learn to control his powers and best his fears so that he can stop the destruction and regain the trust of SEA before it's too late. To do so, he must head into the heart of the storm. All right, so this reminds me a little bit of like a Percy Jackson type of story. We have mythology, we have magic. So this one is ages 8 to 12, and the Lexile reading level was 500 to 700, so kind of in there. I have Red Sand, Blue Sky. This is a book set in Australia. It says, at the center of Australia is a vast red desert known as the Outback. For 12-year-old Amy Wilson from Melbourne, it is a world unlike anything she has ever seen before. Who would suspect that here Amy would find a new friend, and one who understands her as no one else can? When Amy first meets Lana, an Aboriginal girl, their differences keep them apart. But slowly Lana teaches Amy about their Aboriginal people, and together the two girls discover that someone is robbing a sacred Aboriginal site. On a night full of danger, Amy and Lana have to muster all their courage and carry out a high-risk rescue mission, and together save a life. So this one is ages 9 to 11, grades 5 to 7, Lexile level between 700 and 850. I have Call It Courage by Armstrong Speary. Mafatu's name means stout heart, but his people call him a coward. Ever since the sea took his mother's life and spared his own, he has lived with a deep fear. Even though his father is the great chief of Kinkuru, an island whose seafaring people worship courage, he is terrified, and so they hate him. By the time he is 15 years old, Mafatu can bear it no longer. He must conquer his fear alone, even if it means certain death. It's a pretty short book, but it does have a higher Lexile reading level. It is ages 9 to 12, grades 3 to 7, and Lexile 830. Okay, so this last one I would not consider a children's book or novel. It is probably more intended for adults. It is one that I read myself as a teenager, and I know that it might be a little bit much for sensitive kids. However, my kids have listened to a lot of missionary stories, and so I think they're ready to deal with some of the concepts that are in this book. So, this is Peace Child by Don Richardson. It is a missionary story. It is about a missionary who goes to Papua New Guinea. We just listened to the introduction today, and basically, they were talking about some of the people that he went to and how the heroes in their culture are people who can become really good friends with other people to purposely betray them in the future and kill them and cannibalize them. So it does have cannibals and things like that. So if your children are sensitive or you haven't done a lot of missionary stories, if they're not on the older, I would say more high school level, then I probably would not hand this book to them. But I think my kids, they're 12 and up. We've had enough of that exposure that I don't think this is going to be too much for them. So it says an unforgettable story of primitive jungle treachery in the 20th century. So, like I said, I read this as a teenager. I kind of have a vague recollection of it, but I do remember liking this book. So I wanted to include this while we were studying this area. So it says, From Cannibals to Christ Followers, a true story. In 1976, Don and Carol Richardson risked their lives to share the gospel with the Sawi people of New Guinea. Peace Child tells their unforgettable story of living among these headhunters and cannibals who valued treachery through fattening victims with friendship before the slaughter. God gave Don and Carol the key to the Sawi hearts via a redemptive analogy from their own mythology. The Peace Child became the secret to unlocking a value system that existed through generations, over centuries, possibly millenniums of time. This analogy became a stepping stone by which the gospel came to the Sawi culture and started both a spiritual and social revolution from within. With an epilogue updating how the gospel has impacted the Sawi people, this missionary classic will inspire a new generation of readers who need to hear this unforgettable story and the lessons it teaches us about communicating Christ in a meaningful way to those around us. So that is Peace Child. Like I said, it doesn't really have an age recommendation. I would say it's more for adults or upper teens. It has a Lexile level of between 800 and 1,000. So I'm saying about 900, so a little higher. So we are actually going to be doing this as an audiobook in the car as we're driving around. So those are the books that I have as resources to use as I am teaching my children about the geography and culture of the Pacific Islands and Oceania. If you have any questions, definitely put a comment below, or if you have any other ideas of good books that I'm missing here that I should be considering, please put them in the description box below and maybe leave it for some other people who are watching this video in the future. Like I said, it was a little harder to find books in this area, so I would love it if you had any suggestions, and you can put them down below so other people can find those as well. If you like videos like this, don't forget to give me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for coming today. And if you want to see my other videos on this playlist, don't forget to check the playlist link below. Thanks for coming, and I hope to see you all in a future video. Bye, everyone.